Welcome to Key Concept 4, Flowcharting and Mapping Processes. This topical module covers essential tools and concepts for a better understanding of flowcharting and process mapping, with a goal to expand your skills and knowledge relevant to professional practice. At the end of this topical module, you should be able to describe the relevance of the topical content, discuss what additional resources may be available to enhance learning, and explain how the essential tools and concepts may be applied in a work setting. A flowchart or process map is a diagram that represents a process with the steps as boxes of various kinds, and their order is connected with arrows and visually describes the flow of activities of the process. Consider the simple process of making toast. How many process steps are there? 3, 7, 15? The answer is, it depends. You could consolidate various activities into major process steps as long as you adhere to the 4 basic rules of TPS outlined in Key Concept 3. This is an example of a simple generic process flowchart or process map. What are some process analysis, flowcharting, and process mapping activity considerations? The following list illustrates a few. Reflect on the voice of the customer, their expectations, and the steps in the process that either add value or are problematic. Review each process step and consider both the financial impact and the need for improvement. And consider the supplier value chain important to successfully completing each process step. What is a SIPOC diagram? A SIPOC, which stands for Suppliers, Inputs, Process, Outputs, and Customers, diagram is a high-level process map used to obtain a description of the process at hand, as well as define the boundaries of the project. The tool is used to identify relevant components or key elements of a process improvement initiative. An overarching purpose for developing a SIPOC diagram is to graphically illustrate the process components and stakeholders, as a method of better communicating the overall scope and complexity of a particular improvement initiative. The following is an illustration of a sample SIPOC worksheet. As a starting point for developing a SIPOC, the primary process steps are identified, and then the input, output, supplier, and customer components are identified. This SIPOC diagram illustrates an example of a SIPOC for the process of making toast. Take a few seconds at this time to review the categories and steps defined in this diagram. Let's review. Process improvement initiatives within organizations can often be overwhelming and full of political and bureaucratic complexities. A focus of the Toyota philosophy is keeping things simple. For Lean Sigma, it is important to focus on initiatives that are doable within a reasonable period of time. For example, several weeks or months, not years. And to select processes or projects that are within your span of control or your team's span of control. Many large processes can be segmented into smaller sub-processes. And finally, start with improving the smaller processes that will have the largest potential impact on your organization upon completion. Now that you have been introduced to the concept of flowcharting and mapping processes, let's look at the next steps you should take to master this key concept. First, you will have the opportunity to enhance your learning by viewing 2 videos. The first video is a quick 10-minute overview of process mapping. The second is a 4-minute overview on how to create a SIPOC using Excel. Then, you can reinforce your learning by completing the SIPOC activity, which will ask you to develop your own SIPOC diagram. And finally, you will assess your learning by completing a practice quiz on this key topic.